Welcome to the initial home of the Erie County Community College. We're very grateful to our hosts here, our allies at the chamber, all the work that they have done in the community, and in particular on behalf of our effort with the community college, recognizing that workforce development and being able to maintain our strength as an economic force remains in place. And we're very grateful to them. I'd like to call on my colleague, the vice chair of the Community College Board of Trustees, to introduce the members of the Board of Trustees.
Good morning, all. We are fortunate to have with us a good representation of our Board of Trustees. And so you have heard from our chair, Ron Nicola. I am vice chair, Cheryl Rush-Dix. And we have with us also Tom Benson and Reverend Charles Mock. Unable to join us, but fully engaged in this inaugural board are Dr. Annette Wagner, Justin Gallagher, Mayor of Corey, Dave Mitchell, Kay Cental, and Christine Vogel. So we represent that board of 9, and so happy to be here, and happy to share with you this great event in a plethora of great events as of late. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I'd like to recognize on this side, from the far end, Carl Anderson, who is the chairman of County Council and is also the liaison to the Erie County Community College Board of Trustees, and who's been very active, as many of you know, has been very active in the community college effort. The county executive, Kathy Dahlkemper, the leader of our effort in the government, with the council, of course, who's been a longtime proponent of the community college, and is the county executive of the county that is the sponsor of the college. So thank you, Kathy, for being here this morning. And it is my pleasure to recognize, of course, who will be recognized again and again, but the president soon to be, Dr. Chris Gray. Thank you for coming, Chris.
Happy to be here.
So this is a historic event for us, but we seem to have had quite a few historic events recently. But with most historic events, there is some reconciling to be done and some hopes to hatch. And in our situation, having been in pursuit of a community college for so very long in this community, we recognize, and I think we need to recognize, that we are too late, that we came way too late in the cycle of the educational needs for our community. Too many were left out of the opportunity over these many years. But in that recognition comes our resolve to make sure that we have a community college. That has happened, and that we have a community college that we can be proud of, that will fill that need for generations to come. And it is a function of a community that did not give up. It did not languish in the backwater. A private sector, public sector partnership of unusual dimensions for any community came together. Political leaders, philanthropic leaders, educators came together to make that play one more time. A philanthropic community that had the courage to think transformatively. The Erie Community Foundation, EGRA, the Susan Hurd Hagen Fund for Transformative Philanthropy, all took the long arc of the need for a community college. We moved, as we moved into this decade, or the decade of the 20s, I should say, we found ourselves with a set of wins, finally. Approval by the Department of Education, approval by the Board of Education, an endorsement by a workforce governor who actually finally historically, once again, as has been reported, wrote us into the books on the budget for community colleges. We have taken what was, in essence, a $3 million county investment, and we have pushed it in a very short period of time, less than a year, to well over $20 million. Operations took place. Many of the people that are engaged in that effort are in the corridors here and with us here this morning. It is an unprecedented push to open the college within an unprecedented short period of time that would make Tom Brady blush, and under the leadership of our interim president, who I want to recognize, Dr. Gay, who's with us here right now. Thank you, Dr. Gay, for being here. And that brings us to the last week, just an ordinary week in the history of a community college, one that is fitting to take place, bracketed by the 4th of July, approval of the 120-day plan so that we have the power and the ability to confer degrees under the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a list of sites for the college across the county that would make Mayor Mitchell smile and Gary Horton tickle with delight. That we have Corey Higher Ed, the Tom Ridge Center, the County Votech facility, and of course the Benedictines, who've been in this community 150 years and been in existence since 500 AD. So they're not going anywhere, and they have been. It's been a wonderful experience for us in so many ways, because of the harmonization of our programs, our efforts, our desires, and our aspirations with all of those sites and all of those organizations. And that brings us to the selection of a president in the very same cycle, in the very same time period. It comes as a result of a nationwide search, and I want to recognize and indicate our appreciation for the Personnel Committee of the Board of Trustees, led by Chairman Tom Benson, over a period of many, many months, and ultimately bringing us to a point of conclusion of which we are all very proud of. We come forth with a candidate of extraordinary skills, powers of innovation, with a vision, who understands a community college because he began in a community college, and you'll be hearing about him and from him shortly. And with that, I'm delighted to bring forward the county executive for her remarks. Kathy?
Good afternoon. Good morning. Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. You know, I was thinking about what I should say this morning, and there's so many things to say. First of all, I think collectively many of us could get together and write a pretty darn good novel about obtaining a community college here in Erie County. So back in 2009, my first days in the United States Congress, my 2 short years there, we were voting on the American Recovery Act. You might remember that. Before we had American Rescue Act, we had American Recovery back then. And there was a lot of money in there for community colleges. And I thought, this is great because our community is really working hard, and I think we're going to get it this time. And so I have to give a lot of credit to my predecessor, Barry Grossman, who really worked hard and unfortunately was not successful at that point. But I was very disappointed because, again, we knew that this community needed a community college. So back in my early days as county executive in 2014, Councilman Andre Horton and Ron DiNicola asked for a meeting, and they said, we really want to move forward on this effort to get a community college. We believe we can do it this time with a new council and just with maybe renewed energy in our community. So that was 2014. And here we are, midway through 2021, and we're bringing on our brand new president to our brand new school. And so what a day of celebration. So I'm not going to go through all what's happened in between because many of you in this room know, and it was very, very hard fought. This community never gave up on the dream to have a community college here for the residents, for our future, because we knew to be truly successful, we had to fill in this gap in our educational ecosystem. And it was a huge, glaring gap. And I also want to recognize James Grunke and the business community who came behind this, because without the support of the business community, I don't know that this would have happened even this time. So many people to thank, but we're here today to celebrate this next milestone, and I want to particularly thank the Board of Trustees. A lot of hard work goes into finding the excellent candidate that you have found. And I want to thank Dr. Judith Gay for all of her leadership up to this point. She's done a phenomenal job. So we are, I believe, in a phenomenal place. I know when I had a chance to sit down with Chris, we talked about this community. I was so impressed that he had actually come here and vacationed, so he actually knows a bit about our community. That's what we want, right? Bring him on in, and he came here to vacation. I was impressed that before he actually did all his interviewing, he actually driven around the county. He drove all the way to Corey. Too bad Dave Mitchell's not here to hear that, but he drove all the way to Corey and other places in between, so he knows the lay of the land a little bit. He'll get to know it much better, but he also, what impressed me the most, is that he's very entrepreneurial in his thinking. This is a startup. And James and others in the business world know when you have a startup, you have to have that mindset. This is an entrepreneurial adventure we're going on. Innovation is going to be key. I know that I truly believe this school will be the example for the rest of the country, because they have legacy systems they have to deal with as the world is really drastically changing over these past 15, 16, 17 months, and even years before that. We have the opportunity to create that community college that's going to be the example for the rest of the nation as how to do community college well in this current era. So with that, welcome. We're so glad to have you on board. I know the team for the community college is glad to have you here because it's a lot of work to be done. And so I know you're ready to get rolling, and I'm just grateful to everyone who's gotten us to this point today, and welcome again, Chris.
Thank you.
And it's my pleasure to call on Carl Anderson, Chairman of Council.
Thank you, Ron and Kathy. On behalf of all of my colleagues on County Council, particularly Vice Chairwoman Kim Clear and past Chairman Andre Horton, as well as Scott Rastetter, Ellen Showerman, Mary Rennie, and Brian Shank, believers in an effort to continue to move this community forward. And so many of our past colleagues who have believed in this effort many, many times. An effort, as Kathy mentioned, was not successful on several other occasions. And there was something different this time around. And we could feel it, we knew it, and we continued to move forward with that. To Dr. Gray, I have to welcome you to Erie and say what an exciting time for you to be here. You get a front page story in the newspaper and you don't have handcuffs on. But you do get to share that story with Ron DiNicola and Governor Wolf. Two people that couldn't have put more of an effort, more of a belief in this community and in this community college effort. The time and energy expended by the people of this community, the uniqueness of all of us coming together united for a common effort. You know, I mentioned last year when the community college passed the Board of Education that hope and opportunity was alive and well in Erie County. And I like to think that that was the beginning of the wind that got behind the sails that has gotten us to this point. A wind that continues to pick up speed and momentum. I think there's a lot of other good things coming down the road for the community college. We can't share all of those things with you today, but I think you'll be excited when you get to Erie and get your feet on the ground to know that county government County Council, the sponsors of this endeavor, are fully behind you, working together with the administration. We're committed to this community college effort, to the people of this community, to the children of this community, to hope and opportunity for better tomorrows for so many people that have been left behind. And this is just one more step in that process of an exciting momentum that continues to move forward. So, welcome to Erie. I do have to share with you, and I'll ask the county executive to join in when we take photos afterwards. We have one of these very unique Erie County buttons that we'll give you, which will truly make you a welcomed member of the Erie County community. But thank you for being here today.
As the chamber recognizes and has actually researched through the Garner report, which is was a nationally commissioned study of Erie County's economic future and the challenges that we face and the strategies that we should implement in meeting those challenges. The diversity of the things that we need to achieve or need to be achieved by a community college, from remedial assistant to the range of trades, the courses of study are so diverse, the needs so unusually representative of the need within the community, pathways to economic opportunity, an economic redevelopment plan. The entire scope of the work is daunting, and it requires a leader that we think we have found who has that range of understanding that ranges from his work as a vice president of academic affairs to his work as vice chair of the workforce development group within his current community college assignment. Those are broad areas to cover, and having that knowledge and having that understanding gives the president the ability to work within all of the sectors of our community, whether it means providing that remedial opportunity for students who need that lift to make it into a college environment, to those who don't have the ability or the financial resources or the attainment yet to get to that place, for the single mothers that are looking for the certificate, or the single fathers who are looking for a schedule that will be sufficiently agile for them to be able to take advantage of the community college, for the new technologies that are upon us, for the workforce development that we have not had that we need because we have been a leader in economic development for so very long. Those are a set of skills that are not easily found in a single person, but our research and our process allowed us to find one in Dr. Gray. That skill will allow us and allow him to penetrate the community in ways that will be lastingly beneficial for our long-term economic development, for the sustaining of our business community and particularly our manufacturing hold, which remains in the 17–18% range, and all of the other things that we need to do in order to serve our community. He comes with a particular, in my judgment, and reading his resume and having seen him in various interviews over the course of this process, he has a passion for the community college, and he has a sense of innovation and the unique opportunity that is upon us by virtue of what's happening in our country and in our nation and in the changed views of how government will interact with our citizenry. Dr. Gray is that person. So it is my privilege and pleasure on behalf of the Board of Trustees to introduce him to the Erie community. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gray.
You've said lots of things that are partially true and perhaps a little exaggerated. So thank you for all those words. You really hit a lot of the points I want to talk today. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm honored to be selected. I'm I'm particularly excited about introducing the community college model to Erie County. We have a rich educational ecosystem here, but what we don't have is community college, and that's much different than the other institutions of higher education that exist here. I want to talk a little bit about what makes that different. Ultimately, we are a community college, but you're going to hear me say this frequently. We are the community's college. We are here to make this community a better place to live and work. That is our role. We do that lots of different ways, and let me briefly talk about how we're going to do that through what the board has laid out as their 3 A's: accessibility, adaptability, and affordability. Let's talk about affordability. Everybody knows financially from a price point, because of the support of the county, because of the support of the state, because we're community college scrappers, we do lots of great things with little. We're going to have a low price point for students. That opens doors, right? Because of the philanthropy of the local community already, we're going to be able to support those students immediately. And soon, once we obtain accreditation, we're going to be able to have financial aid. So students from all walks of life, regardless of where they come from financially, regardless of their socioeconomic status, they're going to be able to access higher education. So that's why that affordability is so important. But I want to think about affordability in terms a little broader than financial. Affordability is also about being able to afford it into your life. As Ron mentioned, we have, when you think of your traditional college experience, you pack up the car, you drive off, you live in a dorm for 4 years, you come back and do your laundry every third week or so. Was I the only one that did that? Right? But that's not true for so many Americans. About half of all students in college right now are in a community college. You know why? Because they're working. They're caring for children. They've been laid off. They can't afford the prospect of leaving their lives to go do that. So that affordability, we're going to be right there. And we're going to be right there for all of the very diverse set of Erie County. Community college is going to have multiple campuses, multiple locations. That's what we do. Even the concept, if we have to add a drive to drive 45 minutes from edge of the county to edge of the county to obtain training 3 days a week, that potentially puts somebody that can't work those 3 days a week or has to find care for their parents. So that affordability is lots of different aspects of that. Let's talk about that accessibility. We talk about being close to home, but culturally that's important. Lots of folks like me didn't grow up seeing themselves getting in a car and going to college, right? I didn't know people who went to college. It wasn't valued or respected in my neighborhood, right? So the concept of going off to college, I would have abandoned my family. So culturally, these underrepresented communities, it's often something we have to address to. So one of the beauties is you can stay part of that family unit, support that family, and also obtain your own educational goals. The other thing is it's aligned with your career interests, right? When we think about making it accessible, 80% of students who go to college, you know their number one reason for going? Get a job. Faculty don't like to hear that. We like to think it's about some great epistemological view and they're going to go explore the classics. The reality is they see this as a mechanism by which to enter the workforce. My challenge to the faculty, we have a couple of them here today, is we can do both. But we have to be realistic. When you work with our community partners, they will tell you time after time, I need people who will show up on time, who can communicate, who will understand processes, who can think critically. We have to do better at the soft skills. Our workforce partners are telling us that left and right. We've got to start addressing that straight on. That's one of the things we're going to do at Erie County Community College. We're going to recognize that we are preparing folks for work, whether that's immediate, into the skilled trades or into our allied health or into manufacturing, or whether they're going to go on and obtain higher academic credentials. Eventually, they're going to land in the workforce. And it's not even just community college are hearing this. We're having people that are graduating Harvard who employers are saying, seriously, they can't write an email? We've got to do better. That is our challenge. Our current system of higher education does not serve us well. We also are an open access institution. And that's a technical term. What that means is everyone's welcome. I guarantee you I can get great results like Harvard if I can be as selective and only take people who come from, typically, 2 parents have college degrees, high socioeconomic status. That is the number one indicator of your academic ability. I didn't say anything about their cognitive ability, about their intellectual ability. These other factors. So as an open access institution, we are going to welcome all students. My father Actually finished his GED at the community college when I was a young boy. I had no idea what that was. I didn't understand it. I remember I had to go put a fancy shirt on. I had no idea. I knew it was a big deal because my mom sat in the back of the room and wept. I didn't know what it meant, and I was like, oh God, she's crying. I'm not going to deal with her, right? I look back on that now, and I think, oh my gosh, that changed my dad's life. Here was a kid who got dropped out of high school, got kicked into a foster program, went back and achieved his dream. Sometime, I would guess he was probably in his 30s at that point. That's the type of work that community colleges do. That's what we talk about when we're everyone's college, right? We're going to partner. I'm telling you, the future of education, you are going to see, of all the education institutions in America, I will argue 25% of them will not exist in another 10 years. Because we've done too much, focused on ourselves. How do we do it? How do we do it? What we need to do is partner. And we're going to partner with our K-12 institutions. We're going to get some dual credit opportunities. Students who obtain any post-secondary credit, any college credential in high school, stand an 80% increased chance of completing some sort of certificate or degree in college. Why would we not bend over backwards to make that happen? We've got to figure that out here in Erie County, right? We're going to partner with those local universities immediately. I know Dr. Gay's been working on some articulation agreements, but we're going to partner. Some of our students, many of our students are going to want to immediately go on to transfer to obtain a baccalaureate degree. So we're going to work to follow the Pennsylvania core curriculum, but we're also going to develop partnerships, seamless partnerships, so students can start here at Erie County Community College, be at home, continue to give back to the community, and then transition on and finish up their degree. We're going to work with those other institutions to create that. And then most importantly, we're going to work with the businesses who are hiring people right here to understand what their needs are. Those partnerships are the most important. I am going to measure our success at Erie County Community College in terms of jobs, not degrees. That's a shock in higher education, but it is about getting people employable, giving them the skills, the confidence, the ability to believe in themselves so they can go out there and make Erie better, because you know what? When they make Erie better, it's better for all of us. It's better for the businesses, it's better for the individuals. That's what we're going to do. That's the power of a community college. I also want to hit on the adaptability aspect of it. This is a difference. We're going to be adaptable. You're going to see we're going to add programs in, we're going to train folks up, and we're going to shift that program out. Colleges don't do that well. Many colleges, you'll see a program, and somebody will say, hey, tell me the origins of that. And they can tell you it was 10, 15 people before them that started it. And I say, okay, well, what do you do with that program? They just describe what they're doing. We can't do that. The world is changing too quickly. If you deal with any manufacturing partner, if you're in traditional education, it's going to take you 2 to 3 years to develop any sort of training. We can't do that. Because they're not anticipating a need 2 to 3 years out. They're anticipating a need 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 months out. We're going to have to move quicker. We're going to have to break the model when we talk about adaptability. We're going to have to break that model. We know about 80% of the jobs that are going to exist in 2030 aren't even created yet. So I'm going to challenge folks on what are those skills we need to teach. I'm going to argue it's more critical thinking, it's more problem solving, it's more system thinking. So they have the skill set, so they're leading in those companies and helping those companies achieve their goals and move on to the next level. Excuse me. And that adaptability is going to be critical for lots of different things. We know that since we're an open access institution, we're going to take some of the most vulnerable students. We have to be adaptable to recognize we have to meet them where they are. We have to understand that they're coming with different life experiences, different fears, different hopes. We're going to have to meet them where they are and help them get where they need to be. We don't just get to come in and say, here's the standard, you got to meet it. You can't do that with the students that we get. We've got to say, what's your story? What brought you here? What excites you? What's going on? How many jobs are you working? How many siblings are you caring for? How much time can you allocate towards your studies? Sometimes we have to have tough conversations and say, no, you can't work a full-time job and care for your children and go to school full-time. You're not going to be successful at probably any of those three. Yesterday, I had the great honor of hosting Dr. Biden, President Biden. I'd actually wish it was Dr. Biden. We had the great host of having President Biden on my current campus and all the dignitaries that come with that. And I don't know if you saw the news, but he laid out his case for the free community college. Incredibly proud that he did that on a campus that we've been a huge part of it, but that's because we took these principles, we put those into play. Community colleges, we are an economic driver in our communities. You don't know that yet because you haven't had that motto. We're going to be here. We're going to be at the table when you're trying to recruit a new business. If I can solve workforce, if I can help you solve that workforce, I can help you land those businesses. You've got amazing infrastructure here, right? You talked about the hope. The hope is palpable here. The town I grew up in is a small rural manufacturing town in the farmlands of central Illinois. That town has been dying since I left it. There's no hope in that town. I drive into Erie, it feels like home, but the difference is there's hope. There's people like you in this room that are trying to make it better, that are determined and dogged that you're going to make it. That's that grit. And that's the grit that our community college is going to help add to it. We're going to teach those students how to have that grit and how to be successful. So with that, I am thrilled to be part of this team. I've got lots to learn about Erie County. I'm going to be on ground next week. My schedule's already pretty solid. I will get to every one of you. I will literally have an open door. We have so much partnering to do. Our first goal, though, is to get those students registered, which will start July 12th. Has that changed? July 15th. That's changed. So for those of you who are wanting to explore, want to learn a new skill, want to brush up a skill, have somebody who's thought about it, give us a call. We're going to meet you where you are. We're going to help you. We're going to listen. We're going to find out what your journey is. And we're going to get you enrolled and start you on your journey. You're writing a chapter in your own book. That's important. The college is writing a chapter in the county's book. That, too, is important. Together, that's what we're going to do. So thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here.
And we have time for a few questions. Any questions?
Hearing none.
They usually like to ask their own questions, of course.
Okay, well, I'm sure that the president will be available afterwards. So thank you all again for being here. Thank you for supporting our effort, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you all.